Namaskar. My name is Dada Krishna Sevananda. I'm a monk and meditation teacher, and in this series of videos, I share insights on meditation and the spiritual journey. Some people come to our ashram here in Denmark and feel that the ashram rules are too restrictive and that they limit their freedom. Rules such as not to kiss and cuddle in public, to wear modest clothing, and that kind of thing. The rules, however, are designed to liberate people, to make people free. So, where lies the misunderstanding? The misunderstanding comes because the normal concept of freedom is freedom to do whatever one likes. The yogic concept of freedom, however, is freedom from anger, fear, selfishness, greed, and all kinds of limiting factors. Freedom from the body, freedom from the ego, freedom from time and space and person. In other words, absolute freedom. Even though one may be given a great deal of freedom to do whatever one likes, one may still suffer from ego and selfishness, depression, confusion, and this lack of freedom from limiting qualities and negative qualities can have a severe impact on one's own happiness and on the happiness of those around you. Often people who suddenly win a great deal of money find that they now have a lot more freedom to do what they would like to do, but often they don't have the discipline to make the best use of that freedom and end up hurting themselves and causing trouble for those around them also. In order to achieve freedom from one's negative qualities and ultimately absolute freedom, spiritual practice and following some kind of discipline is necessary. Absolute freedom is impossible on the physical level. There will always be the bondage of time, the bondage of place and person. Happiness on the physical level will always be limited and temporary. So, in order to achieve absolute freedom and happiness, it's necessary to gradually detach the mind from the physical level and guide it towards the spiritual level. And this is the purpose of the ashram rules, not to restrict or limit one's freedom, but to gradually guide the mind towards the spiritual level where one can find real freedom. If you think about your own personal experience, often there's a conflict between our physical desires and our spiritual desires. And if we indulge our physical desires, it comes sometimes at the cost of our spiritual awareness. So it can be very helpful to be in an environment where there is some kind of limitation on our physical expression and some kind of encouragement for our spiritual expression. Of course, this should not be to the point where it's excessive or it becomes unnatural, as this can cause suppression and psychic problems. Rather, it should be gentle, but nevertheless encouraging gradual detachment from the material sphere and leading one towards the spiritual sphere. Victor Frankl was a German psychotherapist who wrote the famous book Man's Search for Meaning. And during World War II, he was imprisoned in a German concentration camp. Despite the brutality, the torture, and the extreme lack of physical freedom, he was able to maintain his mental and spiritual freedom. The great saint Sri Aurobindo got his self-realization during the long years that he was in jail, because he was first a freedom fighter. And many saints and spiritual people instinctively seek out an environment where there's a little more simplicity and lack of distraction, because they know that's helpful for them to develop on the spiritual level. And I think that's why today also many people like to go on a retreat or to spend some time in an ashram, because they have that same instinctive sense that an atmosphere which is a little more quiet and disciplined and simple will be helpful for their spiritual growth. And that's the reason why we have these rules here at the ashram, not to limit people, but to channel their expressions and their longings, to create limitations on one level in order that they may discover freedom of a longer lasting and deeper and more absolute nature on a higher level. So that's the topic for today. I hope you found it clarifying and helpful, and I wish you a great week. Namaskar.